think it's time for a rendering workflow update. As I was setting up the scene that you saw at the start of this video, I realized that my workflow has been changed, or it's in the process of being changed by this whole AI thing. And because of it, I really want to do a video about the subject, about the topic, showcasing the new and hopefully improved, I'm not sure, probably improved workflow, rendering workflow that I do. In total, I counted 3 different AI tools that I have used, and we'll get through them, but we'll get through them once we get to them. First of all, the model, the 3D model that you see on the left-hand side of the screen here. This model was done in previous 2 videos, and it can be downloaded by Patreon members, as well as the scene, the final scene as well, of course. And not just Patreon members, also YouTube members as well. All links in the video description below. I'll shut up about it. It's a model of a single studio or single capsule of a Nakagin capsule tower, which is my favorite building in the whole wide world. Since I'm doing still images and videos for YouTube, as well as social media, I guess, the render engine really doesn't matter, so I chose to use TWINMOTION in this case, because it's free, and it's easy to use, and it's fast. And also, TWINMOTION has a nice built-in library right here for materials and objects, because the idea is to make this capsule less sterile, more lively, more lived in. And also, of course, to tell a story through the assets, through the objects that, I'll be adding in. And now I'm switching to the next step of the workflow, where all models and textures and imperfections have been already added. And it took about 5 or 6 hours to do, which is not that bad, honestly. For those of you who are curious, I'll add a time lapse of the whole process at the end of this video. But for now, let's just kind of look around and see the story that's being crafted. So the mindset was this, or rather, maybe let's begin with the 3D models that are not part of TWINMOTION's asset library. So this CRT monitor, as you can see here, has been modeled by me during some live streams a year ago or so. So I'm adding that in our Mecha Bunny project here. Speaking of Mecha Bunny, here are some posters. This is too fast. There we go. A poster of our Mecha Bunny, again, shows in the time lapse how I made it here. Some duct tape dictating that the paranoid behavior of a person who's living here, had the little eye peephole duct taped or with a poster or something like that. Some trash on the floor, some unopened letters, a dirty rag, some dirt on the floor itself, a coffee cup with a little bit of stained paper, knives, unopened or opened Chinese box, camcorder, a laptop with a blank screen, some sticky notes, and so on. Another, the Nakagin capsule tower. This is just a view capture to file from my Rhino model. A poster, some crumpled pieces of paper dictating like erratic behavior. Let's go here. A hole punched in the piece of furniture with some cardboard duct taped over it. Some more posters, and I'll get to this in just a second, but it's basically the first AI tool. Let me just get done with the whole overview of the scene, and then we'll get to these, and I'll show you how these 3 posters have been generated. And here in the bathroom, you can see, the kind of the end of the story, or the end of the narrative, where everything kind of starts connecting. Some drugs, some drugs that you need to take every day, pill dispensers or whatever they're called, I'm not sure. Nail polish. And some hairspray, some comb, something to keep yourself clean, right next to a syringe, right? So there's a few also young person shoes. Like that's what I had in my head. Young person shoes with cigarettes and coffee. So all of this, once you start connecting the dots and then you start looking at the environment, right? All of this starts telling you a story about who's using the space, and that's the purpose of it. The problem is that currently I don't have all of the assets that I would like to have here. There are still some missing that I couldn't find in the library, under objects or under Megascans or under Sketchfab, right? So those assets we will use tool number 2, AI tool number 2, to actually to generate. But first of all, let's talk about tool number 1. These posters have been generated in Photoshop. So these days in Photoshop, if you just open up a new file or create a new file, you get the suggestion to just generate an image, right, instead of drawing it. And that's what I've done. I did 2 posters that were custom made, because I wanted to have the control, and other 2 I got rid of control, and that's the name of the game with AI. You kind of sacrifice control for speed. And here I just clicked on generate image and typed in, like, let's say 60s poster, brutalist architecture monochrome, something like that, generate. And then you give it a second, it generates, a few variations for you. You set them up. You select the one that you want, save it, you've got yourself a poster. Of course, the question is, what's the database from which Photoshop is training their model for, generating these kind of images? And from what I've heard, let's get this straight. Adobe is a horrible company that has a lot of shady business practices, but it seems like they're training their AI models, at least from copyright-free material. I hope they do. Either way, I save these files and then I get them in Twinmotion as just a JPEG, map them on a rectangle, place them as a poster. And you can see, the typical AI, what's the word? AI noise, that artifacts, I guess, that you get. But honestly, for a background type of a material, you never think twice. It's just a few posters that are stapled on the wall, just filler assets. So that was the first AI tool that I used, and that was Photoshop's AI. For the second tool, let's actually talk about things that are missing and things that I want to still add to the scene. And by the way, this is not the scene as it is, clearly. I need to actually render it for you to, actually use Path Tracer for you to see the full quality of it. But just as an overview, this works just fine. So I couldn't find any nice speakers, any nice old school speakers on these libraries here. So those are the 2 that we need to add. Then here there's no light fixtures. I want a fluorescent light. I couldn't find that. There's no light fixtures here. I want a round light fixture here in the ceiling. And generally speaking, some small bits and pieces, maybe a screwdriver, maybe something like that, just plastered all over here. We'll figure something out with this corner. Basically, I just want it to be all here. Also, this area of the bed is very empty, right? I want to add some blankets here. I want to add some clothes that are not just, nicely folded, but that have fallen down, right? So that's going to be a thing that we do as well. So how do we do that? How do we generate? Well, first of all, I just want to note here, out of all of these items, one of them is already generated, right? And I have them all in the AI corner for now. And the item that has been generated is this calculator, right? As long as you're just kind of glancing over it, you don't really notice. Once you move in, of course, there are some issues with it, especially with the numbering, clearly. But honestly, as a background asset, and that's what it should be used for, as background assets, this is acceptable, this is fine, right? So what we will do with AI is we're going to generate background assets. Without any further ado, let's jump into the software, the website. It's going to be a website. Let's jump in. All right, Rodin AI. It is a platform that I have already shown you in the previous video, but recently they have received quite a big update, which enables additional flexibility, additional kind of control from the user's perspective of what is being generated with AI. And that update makes it so that I actually can use the tool in my everyday workflow, right, to generate models for myself. The models generated will not be, in front of the camera main focus assets. They are still going to be a background assets, but as background assets, they will work. So let me show you an example of what has been added, right? You have the bounding box control, you have the voxel control, and you have the point cloud control. I will cover bounding box and voxels. Point cloud control is basically the same thing as voxel control. It's just that you're using vertices rather than using, specialized bounding volume. For bounding box control, I can just click here and go to handcraft, and here I can describe the proportion of the box that I want to have of an object that I want to create, right? So for example, let's say I want to do speakers, right? I want to do retro speakers. So I can just here say that, well, while it's 100 by 100 in width and height, in width and length, the height should be, let's go for 200. Scroll out, maybe 150. Oops, that's not 50, that's 50. Something like that is more of a proportion of an old school speaker, right? Once I've done that, I just hit confirm, and from now on, the models that are going to be made or generated are going to be in this proportion. And then for the text input, I can do a retro PC speaker, something like that. And that's way too big, so I hit refresh. That's too retro. No. Okay, so let's do 80s. Retro PC speaker, simple, something like that. Again, with the weird speakers. Are those called like differently? No, they are speakers, right? And if the AI does not generate anything for you that you might use, actually that one was pretty good. You can always cancel out of there and go to the interwebs and type in PC retro speakers 80s or 90s, I guess. And for instance, these bad boys here, I can just open this image. That's a very small image though. Let's see if we can open like that. There we go. Copy image. And let's see if I can I can't just paste it here. Okay, I need to actually save it. Save image to desktop. WebP. I hope that format is going to be red. It is not red. Okay, that's fine. A way of how to get around it is Windows key Shift S to make a partial print screen of a speaker, right? And then that screenshot that has been made, you can just get it here, save, and you just save it on the desktop or something like that. Desktop. Let's go for desktop for now. And now back in here, add the screenshot, open. The image is going to be processed, and once it's processed, you can generate, a model from it. There we go. Generate. And now we just wait. Okay, so this is what has been generated. It's too short. It should be higher, right? So what I do is I go back to bounding box. By the way, this is still free. We're at the free stage of the tool yet. So bounding box, and here I'll change from 150 to 200. Confirm. and I'll say, actually give me both sharp and smooth edges. That should be good. Simple geometry, complex. Is this simple geometry? This feels like it should be complex geometry. Why does it give me simple geometry? I want it to be complex. And hit redo. Right? Computer speaker, rectangular shape, control knobs. This is what it understood from the image. Right? If you want to add more to it, then you of course you can. There we go. It's a little bit yucky, but I mean, will this work? Yeah, I think this will work. I think this will do the trick. Okay, so we are happy. Let's say we're happy with the 3D model, and this is the moment where I actually need to confirm. And you can see it costs 1 credit. This is the first time we actually pay, right? 1 credit is like, you can think of it, $1, right? So 10,000 polygon model sounds about right. It could be 5,000 polygons though. Doesn't need to be 10,000. Let's do 10,000. I'll hit accept. It asks me, is the geometry symmetrical? I will say, well, it doesn't look symmetrical here, but it looks symmetrical in the front, so I'll just say yes. At least it should be, right? So then it generates a 3D model for us, like a higher quality 3D model for us. There we go. And keep in mind that the the preview tools that we have here, they are meant to show the model with all of its inconsistencies, right? So it's basically showing all of the things that are bad with the model as clearly as possible, right? So this is the worst that this model is gonna look like, and honestly, I mean, that ain't that bad. Looks pretty good to me. Then for the texture, I can check, computer speaker, rectangular shape, control knobs, so exactly the same prompt, and I can click on generate. I can also change the how accurate should it be according to the reference image, but honestly the default tools work pretty well, so I'll just hit generate. That was 1 more credit, so in total now we have spent 2 credits, which is $2. While this is generating, just let me talk about generally, what these AI tools can be used for generating 3D models. The moment you have organic stuff like organic shapes, like clothes and whatnot, laying on the bed, I tried generating that, but it just tends to devolve into mess, right? It does not recognize like different pants and shirts like laying on top of each other. It just generates everything as this kind of a salad of things. But when you have a very specific separate entity, separate object like a speaker, it does a pretty good job at generating it, right? Even with a little bit of inconsistencies, but inconsistencies will work quite well. Yeah, that's all good. Inconsistencies will work quite well on my in my scene, right? So I'm happy with this. I'll say, yeah, I confirm this, right? So after this is confirmed, it generates, and now I have the possibility to actually download this, right? So to download it, I will use a high poly version of the model. I will use the OBJ file of it, and I will use PBR material. Should it be 1K or 4K? I wish there was like a 2K option here. How much of VRAM are we using here? 51%. That's fine. We can afford 4K textures for just speaker. That's okay. So I will be where are we? I will be downloading 4K textures. Worst case scenario, we downscale them automatically manually, sorry, with Photoshop or something like that. So I hit download, and that's it. It's gonna generate. You're gonna download it, and it's done. Then you have your own material. Just like with Photoshop, these guys as well are training their models on publicly available 3D models, like copyright-free 3D models. So that's good, right? That's a good thing. That's what we want. We don't want them to train the models on, you know, something that, you know, you purchase a pack of 3D models and you feed them into AI, because that would be quite a nasty thing to do. Okay, and as it has downloaded, I have my zip file here. I extract it. Sure. I will immediately rename the extracted folder to speaker, you know, just so that I don't get lost too much. And the obj file also speaker. There we go. And you can see all of the textures that have been generated. For Twinmotion, we don't need a PBR texture. That's unnecessary, but we will be using all 4 of remaining ones: diffuse, metallic, normal, and roughness. Now, if I go back to Twinmotion, I can go to import, click on the little plus sign, and go to geometry, open, and find speaker obj file. There we go. Hit open. I have all of these settings that I can, you know, change up, but I don't really. Why would I? I just hit import. And then I have my speaker obj file. It is already in the scene as well. When you hit import, it actually adds it to the scene. So here I can see it, right? I can select it. And if I just look around, yeah, there it is. There's my speaker. Well, I can only see the gumball, but if I drag it in here and hit the F key, you can see that, you know, it's cute and small, very small, right? So what we want to do is we want to scale it up first, probably 10 times, right? Something like that. Yeah, that seems to be kind of correct size for the speaker. Rotate it 90 degrees, move it up, right? And then we just texture it. So I will, okay, let's keep it here for a little while. So the speaker OBJ has only one model, right? Which means it's going to have only one material, which is great. That's what we want. And I will just create a new standard material and slap it on here. Slap it on here. Slap it on the model. Slap, okay, here. We're struggling here with adding materials. It is what it is. Try again. Please. Please on the model. Really, during a tutorial. I am not sure what's going on. Give me a second. Okay, I struggled here, but finally I managed to apply the texture. I don't know. Seems like it's something on Twinmotion side. Anyway, we move on. So I have this material associated with the speaker. And what we want to do is we want to first of all remove the tint. So it needs to be 255, 255, 255. Okay, and then we will start adding in the materials, right? So I skip over color. That's always the last thing that we add. First I'll do the roughness. So texture, open, and we will just find the the roughness texture right here. Hit open, and then we'll drop the intensity of roughness down to like 28, 30, something like that. So let's catch some light. You can see that now it's all glossy, and you know it changes. The glossiness does indeed change. This is more glossy than here, which shouldn't be the case, but it is what it is. Okay, so roughness. Then for metallic, same thing. We apply, open, texture metallic, open, and you know you can change the intensity of it, of how metallic it is. I like to keep it at 50%, never reach 100%. Last one, well, one before the last one, normal, open. Normal map adds that additional detail, right? You know, this is without normal, this is with normal, so you get a little bit of that that bump, you know, in the surface. Maybe here it shows the best from here to here, right? So a little bit of texture in that fabric area. And then that is kinda it. You can invert the normal to see if it makes a bigger difference. It doesn't really. And then the last bit is back to color, add the texture in. Open, diffuse, bam, right? And that's our speaker, right? Or our speaker material. Okay, a few more things that I would like to add here are under MISC, I want to make sure that it's two-sided. And then for ambient occlusion, I will just increase its intensity just a little bit to make it pop a bit more. Besides that, no need to touch anything. So then I select this model, right click on it and choose add to user library right here. Add to user library. And then if I go to my user library, here I can find my speaker model, right? Which I then can add anywhere I want, right? It already with a material, so I don't need the original anymore. I can delete it. Up. Nope. Delete that. There we go. Speaker OBJ, delete that. And then we zoom here. And from now on, we can use the AI generated speakers in the background of our scene. Oh, the rotation didn't go through. That's fine. We just rotate it manually here. Right? Where would the speakers be? I will place one here, something like that. Let's escape out, sink it in a little bit. Yeah, something like that. And then another one, holding Shift key, copying. Another one, either there or here. Maybe here. I'll need to think about it a little bit more. And sink this in. Okay, let's take a look at it through our media setup here with higher quality. Like that, bam. So there are the two speakers, right? Really does not fall out of the context so much, and in my opinion works quite well. Okay, let's go back to media. Let's check out image 2. This is a little bit too close to the camera, so I'll need to find a new placement for this. Or I could place something in front of it so that it's not so much in your face, right? But yeah, so now I guess it's time to do a little bit more of a time lapse to generate some 3D assets and have them in the scene, right? So I guess time lapse time. Okay, so I pause here with the AI just to give you an overview and to get my thoughts across about where the technology is currently at, where it's going, and what can it be used for at this stage. So anything that is very logical, anything that is very mechanical and precise and has to be exactly the way how it's done, through the manufacturing methods, tends to fall somewhat short, especially if you have a lot of like details. So for example, here, this light fixture, I am keeping it, but it's, it's still not at the level where I would be using it. What is at the level where I'm happy to use are these plushies and these assets such as this, right? So I did a little octopus here and I did a little bunny rabbit here, and I think they look great. And it seems like that's where this AI generating tool is shining. It's these soft bodies that are that can be a little bit more flexible in the way they are made. So that's my suggestion, is where you should use it. Speaking about that, or just to touch upon that, the speakers were fine as well. I will be generating a few more models, like AI models for this scene, but I will not be doing a time lapse of it because we're already beyond the time budget that I had for this video. So we move on. The next step is to actually make some cloth simulation here on the bed, maybe on the floor, and so on, right? So for that, I will be using kangaroo for rhino, or for grasshopper, which is a add-on or part of rhino. But there's a few more tools that you could use to generate cloth behavior. AI currently is not one of them. Okay, so another time lapse, I guess. And here we are. Here's the scene ready to be rendered out. Give me a second. Bam and bam. Here's the scene ready. Which brings us to the last AI tool in the list, the denoiser. Let me show you. Image 2, start rendering that one. Go to render, or render tab here, path tracer, and under details, of course, you will see this little tick mark here that says denoiser. This is basically taking in a noisy image, and once it went through the 512 samples that we have set here, it will apply AI denoising to the image, basically interpolating or figuring out the detail, generating the detail that's missing. And I'll be real, most of the time I don't really use denoising. I hate the artifacts, and I hate the fact that you can't tone down its effect. What if I just want to, denoise an image a little bit? It's either on or off in this case, right? But when I'm in a rush and I really need to push out the render as fast as possible, denoising really helps with that, really saves my ass. So I still consider it a pretty damn good AI tool to have in your, AI toolbox. Also, it's kind of built into most of the AI rendering software either way, so it's not like you have a choice to use it or not. And as AI 3D model generation becomes better and better and better, I'm sure that just like denoising, it is going to be built into render engines, as well. D5 Render, for example, is already playing with the idea. Either way, that's the workflow. I'll see you in the next one.